Hello and welcome to the Doofcast, the official variety podcast of doofmedia.com. My name is Scott Daly, and I'm an idiot.
And I'm Matt Freeman, and I'm an idiot.
And combined, we're the three idiots.
Scott, we're missing an idiot.
Is Michael not here?
No, he said he was boycotting movies with numbers in them, movies with idiot in them, and movies longer than 89 minutes.
Oh, well, that's pretty much 3 for 3 on this one.
Yeah.
This week on the show, we are doing another one of our patron-produced episodes. For those of you that don't know, folks who pledge to us at the Doof Warrior level, that's the $20 level on Patreon, our Patreon account, patreon.com/doofmedia, get to select a topic for one of our shows, and we'll talk about whatever they pick. So this week, longtime patron Aaron G selected the 2009 Bollywood comedy film 3 Idiots for us to discuss. So we're going to talk about this movie.
Yeah, I think we're going to open up with a bit of a spoiler-free section and discussion, and then at a certain point we will announce it, and then we'll get into our spoilers.
Yeah, I think we decided that with a movie like this that probably most of our audience had not seen or maybe even heard of, that it would be good to at least give them like something to listen to before we start to get into spoilers. But I don't want to not talk about the spoilers of this movie, because a lot of, I think what this movie is trying to say, you really have to talk about what happens in it. So
yeah.
After that, it's Oscars weekend. So I'm going to give my picks for the Oscars, Matt. And then if you're like one of those people that competes, you can take my picks and then be mad at me when I'm wrong. I usually get like 70%, which is, that's passing.
Yeah.
It's passing.
Yeah, I mean, and I've probably seen 2 or 3 of the movies that are, going to be in the Oscars.
So you get to do your picks too, Matt.
I'll do my picks. I'll do that thing where I say, oh, yeah, I've seen one of these.
So I'm going to pick it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. So let's just jump right into it then. No sense wasting time. Let's talk about 3 Idiots. So Matt, you want to explain or read, I guess, the IMDb summary for this thing?
Summary is, 2 friends are searching for their long-lost companion. They revisit their college days and recall memories of their friend who inspired them to think differently, even as the rest of the world called them idiots.
Oh, that's a beautiful summary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a Bollywood film. I don't know how how much you know about Indian cinema. I don't know very much, so I think we have to be like full disclosure up front that I've only seen a handful of Indian films, and then only like half of them were Bollywood films. I don't know how much you've seen at all.
No, I think a handful is already more than I've seen. I mean, I know kind of the basic idea is that the style of the films tends to be more along the lines of there's something here for everyone. Yeah. This film has everything in it, and it's going to entertain you no matter what. Yeah.
And like the thing, I think this is a good way to talk about Indian cinema in general, because like I said, I've only seen a handful of films and I have loved every single one of them for that very reason, that these movies are not comedy. They're not drama. They're not musical. They're not action. They're kind of all those things rolled into one. And all the Indian cinema films I've seen have been about 3 hours long, which is about what 3 Idiots is. And they just are all encompassing. And I just like, they're just like an event. Like, I feel like these movies are events, and yeah. I that's part of the reason why I like them so much.
Yeah, I mean, after watching this one, I was thinking like, my comment is like, well, I enjoyed that set of 5 movies that I just watched.
Right,
like it felt more like, and like I was reflecting on it as it was kind of winding down before the movie even ended. I was like, I'm so invested in this story. I feel like I've just watched a season of television.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I love that you said that. Yeah. You get so invested in these different characters because you're like, it's not a single like storyline. It's like a series of different events that you're journeying on these characters through.
Yeah, well said. Like you get to learn a lot about them because they face, I mean, I don't even know if I want to call it like acts, because it's almost just like separate challenges that they're all facing, you know, and yeah, it's definitely broken up into many different acts,
Yeah.
like narrative wise and structure wise.
This is not our standard Western 3-act structure type of storytelling, and I don't say that to like insult it at all. It is a very different kind of storytelling. It's a different kind of movie. This is one of those things that actually, like, when I sit down and watch like a foreign film that's a comedy, like when I think we did this with Tampopo as well. Like, I'm always kind of in the back of my mind, like, afraid that I know it's a comedy, and I'm afraid that I'm going to be laughing at things I'm not supposed to, because, like, you know, there's different cultures or different things, and then, like, you think you're supposed to be laughing and you see something that's inherently goofy and you're like, and then you realize you're just laughing at the culture, not at the comedy bit. But I didn't have that problem in this movie at all. I thought that the parts that were supposed to be funny were very clearly funny. The parts that are supposed to be dramatic, yes, like this movie shows a culture that is very different from our own, but never in a way that, like, I felt like I was like laughing and insulting their culture, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely not. It was, I mean, the comedy is just very general comedy. Like, it's,
yeah, I hate to call it broad, but
it's just universal.
Like that word. Yeah,
it's universal, and it makes you laugh. It makes you smile. It's not like none of it is dumb. You know, it's not dumb humor. It's a simple joke or a reversal, or, you know, a joke that you've maybe heard before here and there.
Yeah, there were some of those, right?
Yeah.
There was like, and I mean, this movie's 10 years old now, but it's not like super old. And I'm like, I don't think that was the origin of that particular saying.
Yeah. Right.
Like the pencil with the space pen.
Right. But
like, that didn't come from this movie.
but I like that they used that in an interesting way, right?
Sure,
it wasn't just like an anecdote, because I thought they were just going to leave. So that's part of a setup. And I thought they were just going to leave the setup there and not return to it. But they did return to it. You know, I think one thing I can say that's not spoiler is, like, I mean, it relates to the content of the movie, but just like I found it kind of delightful how apparently in this culture they regard engineers as being something between like a Jedi and a Tony Stark, and I was like, I wish my culture was like that.
Yeah, but I mean that's an interesting way to, like, I guess we'll skirt around it, but the thing that this movie is about the Indians' education system, and it is examining an education system and a cultural system that you know values a certain way of education and a certain way of choosing your role in society and that kind of thing, and it's critiquing it, and it's talking about what are the good effects that this thing can have, and also what are the bad things that can happen, and it's doing it in a very entertaining kind of way, and like we were saying, this is a very kind of broad movie where it is not subtle, it is not like it doesn't use a lot of like complex metaphor and story weaving. It is just a pretty simple but entertaining examination of this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely highly effective. Like that's the thing is I will take effective storytelling over complex and extremely mannered storytelling any day, because it's like, oh well, you've made me feel something. You've made me feel what you set out to make me feel. So I have something to learn from how they did that, you know? Yeah. So and it definitely hits some heavy moments too.
It does. And the interesting thing about the heavy moments it hits is how the story navigates the transitions between those heavy moments, because this is a story with musical numbers. It's a story with like ridiculous comedy beats, and it's a story with suicide in it. It's a story with like relationship drama and some heavy like parental expectation type of stories, and it navigates between those things like quickly, but never to the point where it loses me. Like this movie moves.
Yeah,
it moves. Like it's a 2 hour and 45 minute movie, but it is like constantly moving. Like the pace of it is pretty like constantly forward. So it doesn't like it it's not interested in like slow transitions between tones. It's like, okay, we're on to the next thing. We're on to the next thing. Let's move to the next thing now. And yet it never feels awkward in that to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm getting to the point where I have trouble like justifying spending 3 hours watching a movie, especially if it's like not entertaining. But this one, I was enjoying it the whole time. I broke up the viewing experience, so I wasn't watching it all in one sitting.
Yeah, I did as well. Yeah.
But I still wasn't at any point like, and never felt like it was dragging.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, for all that it does have a lot of the Indian culture being represented in it, it's very universal, because like it's about these, you know, it's about college students, sort of. I'll just wave my hand and say that's what it's about. And like that experience was pretty similar to like what we have over here in the States. And if maybe it was a little harsher than what I went through, it sounded similar to what I know for a fact students go through at places like MIT and Caltech and stuff, like the level of pressure and the issue of suicide, the issue of people being crushed by the pressure and the parental expectations and the competition. So like these are like, I don't know. I felt like it was extremely accessible. You know, if that's a concern to anyone, like it was just like, oh, they could make a, I don't know if I'm not saying I want this to happen, but I was thinking like they could make a remake of this movie, like an American remake about American, you know, students in an American college, and very little would have to be changed, if anything, you know, other than just like, okay, they're not wearing saris now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, like this is a movie that is about, you know, the Indian education system for sure. But if you've been to college, there's something that you can get from this. The pressure might be turned up to like 11 that these kids have, and their complex relationship with their parents is more culturally specific. But that doesn't mean it's not. Like, it doesn't mean no one in any other country has overbearing parents or ridiculous expectations or a stress to succeed in school. Like, these things are, you're absolutely right, are universal. And I think this is a movie that one of the movies that broke out of Indian cinema and did very well in the rest of Asia, for that very same reason, because it is a kind of a universal type story that I don't think Bollywood films usually do well in Eastern Asia very, very often. But this one did. This was a huge movie. This was a huge movie in India. Like, this is like one of the most successful Indian films ever. And then it broke, you know, worldwide as well.
That's good. I'm kind of glad to hear that, because it's always nice when you like something and you hear that it got the success it deserved. Yeah. And it actually, from what I understand, has had an effect on the cultural consciousness in India as regarding education and how we do this kind of stuff. And again, we're skirting around the details for spoiler reasons, but it is a movie that has changed people's minds on things. And that's always a really cool thing to see, especially when it's like a movie that is inherently silly, like this movie is. This is a very silly, funny, ridiculous movie. Like, the cover is 3 guys sitting on like butt chairs, like with their hands on the cheeks. It's like, they are 3 idiots. Like, they are like ridiculous and silly. The main antagonist of the movie is like very clearly supposed to be like an Indian Albert Einstein that's just furious with them all at all times. It's great. Yeah, right. The buffoonery of kind of the antagonist is great. But yeah, I mean, I think this is something that I always like in movies when they can pull it off, where they balance between farce and still being able to hold to their serious moments. Sure. And the farce doesn't undermine the serious moments, and nor do the farcical moments feel out of place, considering that there were serious moments that preceded them. It kind of blends in and out and back and forth, and it's just handled perfectly. Like, there was really no moment. There was maybe one moment, which we'll talk about in a minute, where I was like, I probably laughed when I shouldn't have. I know exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, I think you do. Yeah, very, very well handled in that regard. Just really well made movie. You know, the acting was great. We'll probably talk more about that in spoilers, because we won't talk about the individual characters. But Yeah, I like by the end I was like rooting for all the characters and their own little arcs.
Yeah.
That's kind of the nice thing about a long movie like this is each of the characters really gets a lot of space to develop, and we see them in their own individual scenes. We learn about them, who they are individually, not just like in context of the protagonist. And it
Yeah.
really makes the whole experience a lot more vibrant and colorful and powerful.
I agree. I mean, I think this is Rancho's movie. Rancho is the main character, one of the three idiots. This is his movie. This is his story. But at the same time, this is Farhan's story. This is Raju's story. Even Pia has her own little arc through it. That's the
Yeah.
love interest character. And I mean, even Silencer has his own little arc through it, which is the other kind of antagonist character in the story. But I think that the heart of the film circles around these three friends, and their relationship and each of them and the struggles they go through and how they support each other through those struggles. And that's why you can go from it being silly nonsense to heartfelt drama where you're actually feeling for the characters, because like their bond, like while the movie jokes around and has fun and is silly, their bond is something the movie takes very seriously. And that's why I think those transitions, for the most part, work.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there anything else we want to say before we move into spoilers? I always feel like this section is really short, but here's what I'll say. My like capping off of the non-spoiler section. This is a very good movie. This is very good. It's very fun. It's very heartfelt. The dance numbers are great. Yes, there are dance numbers. There's at least two. I think maybe more. The comedy works. The drama works. If you've never tried Indian cinema before, Bollywood specifically, we should say like Bollywood is a very small part of overall Indians. Like India is a very big country, and Bollywood is specific to the Hindi northern, I think it's northern India area of their cinema. They have like southern India has like a completely different kind of culture and a completely different kind of movie as a result of that. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying Bollywood is encompassing all of Indian cinema. It's not even close. I think it's less than half, I think, of their revenue in the country.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one other comment probably is it is mostly in Hindi, I guess. I'm like, if I'm wrong about that, sorry, I'm not familiar with all of the nuances of the languages, but I think it's mostly in Hindi. But then what was interesting to me is that like whole sentences and various snatches of it are just in English. And I just find it utterly fascinating, I guess, that exists and that's a thing that you'll have it's just such a different world, like it just, there's no way you could have a movie made in America where, 10% of the lines were in some other language and not have it dubbed or anything.
I don't even think it's using traditional Hindi anymore, because there were jokes. I mean, there were jokes in the movie about how some of the characters don't speak like classic Hindi. Mm-hmm. I think the language they're using is Hindi Urdu, which is like a combination of those two languages that is mutually understandable by both. I don't understand how that works, but it does. And yeah, I think they call like the mix of that Hindi Urdu and English, I think they call it Hinglish. And that's something that Bollywood is using a lot more and more lately, that English is just like they speak half of their stuff they say in English, and they just do it. And yeah, it is completely different from America for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like certain emotionally impactful lines are spoken in English as if it's like a way of accentuating them.
Yeah, emphasizing. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a strange experience as someone who only understands those lines and has to read the other ones.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that because it's not spoilery, but it was definitely kind of a very unusual thing about watching this particular film.
Yeah, and this was a hard movie for us to find in America. I think it'll probably be a little more easy for you to find it overseas, but it used to be streaming on Amazon, and I guess there's like a dispute that they're having, so because it's not on Amazon, so it was tough for us to track this movie down, but it's worth it, I think. For those of you that haven't seen the movie, take some time, see this movie, and once you have, join us here in the spoiler section that we are moving to right now. All right, Matt. So let's jump into it specifically. Do you want to talk about the terrible suicide transition?
The terrible suicide transition that shouldn't be laughing at. yeah, I mean, it's not funny. What's funny is how not funny it is, if you know what I mean. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
so there's a musical number where I don't know how into it to get, right, but they're fixing the guy's quadcopter, and then they like triumph, and they're doing a musical number while fixing the quadcopter
About how all is well.
about how all is well.
Because that's the main character Rancho's mantra.
It's his Hakuna Matata. And they fly the quadcopter up to his room to surprise him with it, with like a camera feed, and then like this song like comes to a screeching halt as the camera shows that he's hung himself in his room.
Yeah.
And like it's absolutely supposed to be horrible, but it's so jarring, and it coming at the very end of this like comedic lighthearted dance number, that it's like it's like a comedy cut. It's like a comedy smash cut, and maybe give that a little more room to breathe, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But part of me wonders if it was by design, right? Like this whole thing is like, we're having this fun little dance number, and then suddenly the reality of being a student at this school comes crashing back down around us, that the pressure is so high that this guy killed himself rather than fail out. And I mean, that's like the movie wants you to feel good. It wants you to be happy. It wants you to have fun, but it wants to teach you as well. It wants to shove this stuff in your face. It doesn't want you to look away from it. It doesn't want you to ignore it. I mean, that's very obvious when we circle back around. Like that's the linchpin that the whole plot hinges on, but also one of our three main characters, one of our three idiots, Raju, also tries to take his life before the end of this movie. So like it part of me wonders if the reason why they made that abrupt was to shock you. But I agree that it didn't shock me so much as like an uncomfortable laugh, because I was just like, what?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that bad, right? Like
right.
we both, I think, had the same reaction to it, but then I quickly forgot about that reaction, because like as they're like sprinting up to his room to see if there's anything they can do, that like it's like clearly serious at that point, and then you kind of acclimate to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, kind of what I was saying, like they're really good at kind of easing up on the throttle and then gradually pushing down on it again, so that you're never jerked around by the tone.
Yeah.
That was one time where you were definitely jerked around by the tone in a way that I agree was intentional. I just think that I don't know. I don't want to nitpick this one moment forever, but because it's just like the only thing that really stood out to me as like a misfire, which is really saying something in a 3-hour movie.
One of the things I wanted to talk about is how not subtle this movie is, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like this is the filmmaking on display here is very, very obvious. Like it uses like dramatic music cues when it's supposed to be dramatic. It uses light musical cues when it's supposed to be light, and it's like not like it's like it makes them very obvious. Like the comedy beats have certain cuts and zooms and stuff to reinforce the comedy. The dramatic beats use slow motion a lot to reinforce the drama. Like it is very like I'm trying to think of the right word. I mean, non-subtle is right. Like it is very bombastic filmmaking,
kind of stylized. Like
right. Yeah.
There's one moment where like there's like three consecutive, I don't know what the word is for it, but like those tritone horror, like the horror tone musical sting, like da da da, and it happens like 3 times in a row, like as like a character looks back and forth between something, and you, it's kind of a funny scene, I think, if I'm remembering right. So it's okay that it's a bit silly there. But yeah, like it's definitely just kind of using that particular cinematic language in a very just like obvious way. Yeah.
And I wonder like why I'm okay with that, you know? Like I think in a Western movie I would have seen like really obvious stuff like that and like rolled my eyes at it. But for some reason, watching this movie, I didn't mind. It was just part of the experience. And I think it's just because this film like creates this kind of otherworldly type of experience. And so like it all just ties into that otherworldly nature of it. It's like everything's like real, but slightly off kilter. And maybe that has to do with the fact that the majority of this film is a flashback. Like, we haven't really talked about the fact that the structural binding of this movie is 10 years after these guys were all friends, and two of them are looking for their buddy Rancho, who's been missing for 5 years, and they're trying to track him down, and then we're cutting back to memories of the past as they get closer and closer to where he is. So maybe that's why, like, it was okay, because it felt kind of dreamish in its obviousness, and that's why, like, I didn't mind it. Or maybe it's just like when you're watching cinema from another culture, I tended to just be more open-minded in general. I try to be, like, I try to consciously allow myself to be more open-minded, because, like, I'm basically learning the cinematic language of another culture, and so I'm less like ready to jump to judgment, you know?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I guess I mostly would agree with what you said about it being just the world that the film sets up. Like, I'm thinking about, like, if you're watching a John C. Reilly movie and they do a thing like they play the same musical cue 3 times in a row, then that's part of the joke. You're supposed to be like, okay, yeah, they're playing with, like, the filmmaking conceit, and you're supposed to notice that and laugh at it.
Yeah.
But I don't know the conventions of Indian cinema well enough to know whether, like, that was a joke or that's just how you do it. But either way, it doesn't bother me, and I don't really see why it would bother anyone, you know, unless you're just looking for something to complain about.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've only seen a handful of these movies, and it's enough to where I've noticed a pattern of this is kind of just the stylistic type of filmmaking. It's very boisterous, it's loud, it's not subtle. That's just the kind of type of movies they make, and none of this is to say, like, none of this is a critique, right? Like, I mean, this is just the type of movies that I've watched from this culture, and I like it. Like, like I said, it's an event. It's fun. It's a joy to watch in a very different kind of way than a lot of the Western films I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's maybe I said that already, but that's like the main thing about it is it's just fun. It has some kind of heavy moments in it, but all of the heavy moments are like I mean, yeah, we're in spoilers. So, like, every single heavy moment is a setup for how are we going to make you, like, cry at the next like happy moment of friends reuniting, people recovering from terrible injury, lovers finding each other, fathers and sons reuniting, teacher and student being reconciled. Just like everything is a setup for a happy payoff,
right?
Like a couple of unambiguously bad things happen, but they happen to characters we don't really know usually.
Yeah. True.
So yeah, it's all a kind of storytelling where the point is, at the end of the day, we want everyone to walk out of this movie smiling.
Yeah.
And
I think it's cool that you can still do that while teaching or trying to instruct people on the ways in which the writers of this film feel like the education system is failing people. Like, you can still have a good time while imparting an important message.
Yeah, I mean, I thought one of the most powerful scenes with regards to that was when I forget the characters' names, but the one who wants to be a wildlife photographer,
Farhan.
Yeah, Farhan goes to his father and tells him that he doesn't want to be an engineer, and like there's very real feelings on both sides of that are understandable from both sides, and you're just, like, so happy when his father kind of accepts it, even though it's obviously hard for him, but he does. And it's just, like, this joyous moment. And it's like, yeah, like, that's not only is that a great, like, film moment, but that's a fantastic way of using this medium to talk about these issues where, in the audience of your film, there are people who are in that situation who can't bring themselves to talk to their dad about the fact that they don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or whatever it is that they're being told they have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's already an issue in America, and my understanding is that culturally it's always been a bigger issue in India. I've been told that by a lot of people.
Yeah, so, I mean, the movie makes that pretty clear, right? I mean, like the scene when the daughter of the headmaster, principal, or whatever, is pregnant, and they say, if it's a boy, engineer; if it's a girl, doctor.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, the thing that I like about that, and I think the reason why this works is because we have our three main characters, where we have Rancho, we have Farhan, and we have Raju, and each of them have a different journey throughout the story, right? Like this is not a movie about how bad or shitty engineering is. Like yes, it is being critical of the idea that is the only option for you, but it actually loves engineering. Like this movie shows off real inventions that were invented in India, like the quadcopter drone. This was 2009, so that was like just being invented, I think. I'm pretty sure. And I think that was created by an Indian engineer, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on these, so if I'm wrong, someone please tell me. But it's celebrating the idea of engineering and the power of engineering, while also showing that, hey, this isn't for everyone. And like I think there would be, in a story like this, it would be tempted to be like, no, actually engineering sucks, chase your dreams. No, it just is not for everyone, and it is not for Farhan. Like Raju's whole storyline is not he shouldn't be an engineer. It's he's just struggling with it, and the pressure is getting to him because it's so much, because his whole family and everything is riding on his success here, and he's having trouble with it.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think you can even empathize with Silencer, the dweeby, cruel antagonist, because he's working incredibly hard and he's incredibly focused and dedicated, but he still only comes in second to the protagonist, who's basically just a prodigy, which is like that's a real thing, when you're in engineering and you're like, oh, that guy's just smarter than me.
It just comes easier to some people. Yeah. That's just the way it works.
Yeah, right.
And I like, that's the thing, is like Silencer is a comedic character, like that he is the butt of a lot of jokes in this movie, and he's like the butt of the final joke of the movie. But he is still someone that achieved success, right? It was success by his measurement. But he has a wife, he has kids, he's got a nice house, he has his job,
he has Lamborghini.
yeah
Apparently.
Yeah. But like he has achieved the success that he wanted. Just like, I mean, every character in this movie achieves the level of success that they wanted. The whole thing is not don't be successful or don't chase success. It's just chase what your definition of success is, and not your parents' definition of success, or not what the school has decided that definition of success needs to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
Although I thought it was funny that like when they get to Rancho's like hidden school for geniuses, whatever school, and they're trying to demonstrate how he's been secretly following his these 5 years. First thing he says is he's got like Farhan has released like 5 wildlife photography books, and he's got them all, and he's read all of the entries of your blog, Raju. And I feel like they did that because they're like, how he's just an engineer working for this company. Like, how are they going to show that he's been tracking his success? It's like, oh, he's got a blog.
Yeah, shit, we forgot to give Raju a thing.
Yeah. Let's give him a blog. We're not going to ever talk about that, but he's got a blog.
Yeah, no, I mean, they almost could have just... That didn't really matter, right? Like, it was just like
it was a throwaway thing.
I guess the point is he's clearly thinking about them, and
and it shows that he's successful. Like, he's not only is he successful in his job, but he's got this blog that apparently is popular or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the one interesting thing, I guess, is Rancho, like that kind of character could be really obnoxious.
Yeah,
and the actor is playing this very narrow window between like obnoxiously Pollyanna-ish, but also having like a seriousness, and I guess it helps the character has like a dark secret and so on. Like,
because he is not actually Ranchodas.
He's not actually
Chanchad.
He's not actually that guy, and also there's the fact that like it doesn't even matter because if he fails. Like he was never going to be the one who ended up with the degree anyway. So
Right.
It's literally all for the sake of learning for him the whole time.
Yeah. He's kind of like a certain red-haired protagonist, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's yeah, he's almost too perfect, but it works just fine for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about King Killer Chronicles. I guess we should say that.
Yeah, we should
Quote.
Yeah.
Quote.
You just gotta. It's the kva sound, you know.
Kva.
The kva sound, which is common in our language.
But here's what I like about that. Rancho throughout this whole movie is right most of the time, right? Like he's like his whole philosophy is like if you find something you're passionate about, success will follow you. And he is proven right in that. He bests most of his teachers. He makes points about everything. But I love that scene at the end. His final scene with the principal. This moment where we go back to the pen that was introduced at the very beginning of the story, and like the idea of a space pen, and how Rancho just kind of shuts it down by saying, "Well, why didn't they just bring a pencil?" And the principal, before handing him the pen, because he's his greatest student and he's giving them this symbolic gift of this pen, he says, they couldn't use a pencil because if it broke, the lead would get in all the instruments and mess up. You can't always be right, you know. You're not always right. And that was true. I think there's a point to that, is that you're not always right. Yes, you're good. Yes, you see the world in a way that most people don't, and then that allows you to help and aid your friends that you care for, but you're not always right about everything.
Yeah, like I mean, there's man, as long as we're making both comparisons, like a lot of the frying pans that he has to get himself out of are ones that he got himself into, right? Because he can't keep his mouth shut. He mouths off to the teachers, like both. He like breaks into places to steal things because it's more convenient for him than like both.
Yeah, man. When was Name of the Wind written?
Yeah, right. But absolutely, like even like the reason the guy gives him the pen is because he basically saves his grandson's life and possibly his daughter's life, and does it using like awesome MacGyver-ish technology stuff, which was my favorite part of the movie, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
And but the reason he needed, like narratively speaking, they were being expelled, and so he had to like get back into the guy's good graces. But the reason they were going to be expelled was because he broke into the guy's office.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, yes, he cares for his friends. He cares for Farhan. He cares for Raju. And he's trying to help them discover, their path. But he also gets them in a lot of trouble. Like Farhan, both these guys are on the bottom of the list every year, right? Like they're the worst students in the school. He's constantly leading them into misadventure and getting them in trouble because they haven't quite gotten to his level. And he also like has the benefit of being a prodigy. So like when he can talk about, oh, we can just chase after what we want to learn and don't worry about that. Don't stress about this. Okay, well, you're like brilliant. So like that's not everyone. Not everyone has the luxury of just not caring because they can't pass all their tests easily. So like, yeah, he does get these guys in trouble, but like it's not in the kind of way where you resent him for it, right? Because like the movie makes it very clear that he cares deeply about both of these guys, and he really helps push them to their realizations and to their successes. Raju gets the job at the end of the day, not because he is like everyone else in that school, but because the experiences he went through changed him. And Farhan like is able to talk to his father because he's pushed by his friend that cares about him. And that there's something wonderful about these three guys, these three idiots just supporting each other through thick and thin.
Yeah, just like Kvoth and his friends.
Yeah.
I love that. I also found the love story to be absolutely delightful.
Yeah, when the first time he meets Pia.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. That was a great like introduction of that character, and like the motif of him always like having a clever like way of like testing someone or a situation. Actually, I think that was probably the funniest scene in the whole movie was their first meeting at the wedding.
At the wedding, yeah, yeah. Well, and I like that she holds her own against him. Like we've already talked about how he's like a prodigy and he's brilliantly smart and clever and just knows how to do everything. But like she does not back down and she gives him shit and pushes him and like pushes him into a corner with his bullshit. And that's what I love about their relationship, that it is not like just her just enamored by this wonderful, perfect man. It is this push and pull between the two of them that leads to this romance. I think that's just a really wonderfully written love story.
Yeah, and she's a doctor, right? So
Yeah.
so she's, also really smart
Yeah.
in the language of the movie.
Yeah, and she's dating the biggest jackass in the world. I loved that character. I loved her boyfriend, her fiance character. What was his name? I forgot. But he was great.
Yeah.
It's like, want to know how much his shoes cost? Here, let me show you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it pays that joke off at the very end when they're going to get married, and then Raju spills stuff on his jacket.
Right.
My $15,000, whatever the currency is, jacket.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that they saved that. And I didn't see the reveal coming that Rancho was going to end up being, the scientist.
Oh, you didn't? I kind of did.
No.
As soon as Silencer is like, I am meeting with this guy with 400 patents, the most successful scientist in the world, I'm like, oh, that's going to be Rancho. Definitely. That's definitely where they're going.
No, I didn't. I feel like I didn't understand even what the situation was well enough at that point.
That's fair.
But I guess it was possible to figure out because
I did not see the part coming where they go to his house and learn that he wasn't really Rancho and he just worked for the gardener, I think it was, or he's the gardener's son or something.
Yeah.
I did not see that part coming, but once we had that reveal, then I was like, okay, he's the super successful scientist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk a bit. I like on these podcasts to talk about the first scenes of movies because I think the first scene does so much in establishing what type of movie you're going to watch. And the very first scene of this movie has Farhan getting on a plane, and then he gets a phone call, and then he fakes dying so that they'll land the plane and escort him out in a wheelchair for some reason. And then he just stands up and leaves and says, thank you. Basically, he did that so they would turn the plane around because he needed to go find out where Rancho was. And I just think that that's like a perfect way of establishing the tone of this movie, because it's like this really big, serious thing happens and like the dramatic music spikes and the pilot turns around and there's this big drama. Like, what's wrong with this guy? What's going to happen? And then he just pops out of the wheelchair and says thank you and sprints away and then like steals someone else's limo. And I just like the transition there from big dramatic, what the hell is happening, to ridiculous farcical comedy is this movie in a nutshell. And they did that in the first 5 minutes. And I just love that perfectly established the world that this movie is going to take place in.
I agree. And not just the tone, but also the facts about this character, that this is a guy who is willing to upend his entire plan for apparently an international flight because he heard news about where his friend is.
Yeah.
And then when he finds out that it was kind of misleading, he's like understandably furious about it and it just immediately it's a perfect show don't tell moment, because it's like, this is how much he cares about Rancho, that he heard a secondhand, thing about Rancho's going to be here and he fakes a heart attack on an airplane. It's fantastic narrative economy. I love that part. Yeah.
I agree. Narrative economy in a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
They did it.
Yeah. Well, this is, just to kind of circle completely back around to my first comment, like it's a 3-hour movie, but it felt like 5 movies. Like
it did.
Which normally it wouldn't be a nice thing to say, but in this case, I feel like I feel like I learned a lot from this movie about what movies can be. That seems like a bold and dramatic statement, I guess, but you watch so many American movies and you get a sense of like how stories are, how stories should be, and then you see something like this, and it's really going well beyond the bounds of what just a movie like this would just not get made in America. That there would just be people being like, you can't do all this shit. You got to cut out this stuff. You can't have the dance sequences. That doesn't make any sense. But it just works fine in this medium, in this format, in this style.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the thing, like, here's what I love about Indian cinema more than anything: the passion in the country for it. Like the guy that stars in this movie, the guy that plays Rancho is a guy named Amir Khan, and he's actually like one of the biggest celebrities in India. Like he is loved in that country. Like that country loves their movies and they love their movie stars. We read that movie Satanic Verses, or that book. Sorry, we read that book Satanic Verses, and one of the characters in that book is like a famous actor in India, and that is, I mean, the love that the country in that book felt for that character is accurate to how people in that country treat their stars, and it's really cool to see them get so excited. Like if we tweet out that we watched this movie and use a hashtag tomorrow, we'll probably get retweeted by like 100 Twitter accounts from India because they just get so excited when, like, we saw this movie, and it's not a Bollywood movie, but I think it's a South Indian movie at Fantastic Fest called Alavandan, and it's like one of their like greatest, most famous, wonderful movies. And we like just tweeted about how much we liked it, and we were getting retweeted for days by all these people in India that were like, look, people in America saw this movie and they're loving it and they're talking about it and it's so awesome. And it's just like, it's so infectious, their joy. And it's just like, I just like the passion for cinema and these type of movies and the broad, like all encompassing nature of what these movies can be is just kind of infectious. And that's why I enjoy watching movies like this so much.
Yeah, me too. You know, it's funny. I'm looking over the Wikipedia, and it looks like this movie got like between 3 and 4 stars from all of like Indian review sites. I just think that's interesting because like obviously it was a fantastic commercial success. Like it made back its box office numbers like by a factor of 8. Yeah, and I mean 8 times its budget. But it's like that like mediocre critical response, which it's just kind of, it's like that's fine. That happens here too, right? Like a big crowd pleaser tentpole movie will kind of serious critics turn their nose up at it. So
yeah, I sat here for a while actually before we started recording. I was like, all right, if I had to say negative things about this movie besides that one awkward transition, like what would I say? And I guess like like we said, the cinematography is not very like super like
complicated
beautifully complicated. Yeah, like there's like I don't think any like framed shot from this movie would like be something you'd want to put on your wall and be like, oh, look at that use of light and the edit and the like the technique here. Like it's not that type of film. So I can see why like a professional film critic, you know, having to sit down and try to review this would ding it for that. But I just like the thing that makes me love it is that it makes me happy, and I think the message of it is rather important too. Like I love that this movie made people talk about the pressures we put on people and how it's hurting them. Like the movie is not afraid to declare that suicide by overwhelming stress from your school is murder. And then of course if I was in this movie, then dramatic music would have played right as I said that. But like they were not holding back in that. Like that's what the movie believes.
Yeah. And
when you're doing this to kids, when you're putting this kind of pressure on kids, so overwhelming that they feel like they have to jump in front of a train or jump out of a window, you are murdering them. And that's a conversation we need to have because school is important. Learning is important. Being successful is important. But how we do that is important too. And that's one of the things Rancher says in this movie is like, why do we have to like list everyone in public? And why do we have to rank everyone publicly? Like, why do we do that to people? We're just hurting them. Like it's funny because earlier this week we were having like a conversation about education in our Doof Media Discord. And it was kind of circling around these same ideas, right? About like grading and ranking and.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing about that is like, I know the answer. The answer is that college is not for educating you. College is for stamping you with a number that indicates to employers how much they should be willing to hire you.
Yeah, true.
And that's the product you're buying from school. You're buying that stamp. The education part is secondary, at most secondary, and that's that's a shame. But that's the reality of it. So like when
Yeah.
it's not a rhetorical question. It's not like, oh yeah, they should stop that. It's like, well, their incentives are actually to find out what students are able to tolerate pressure and still perform well, because that's what employers want. So that's the product, right? Like if you can't hack it, the employers want to know you can't hack it. Like that's what it's all about. So
yeah, it's a shame.
It is a shame. I mean, that's the thing is I would much rather school be for learning, but that would take like a major societal overhaul that's not a minor adjustment to the system. That's a
certainly
major
not
change.
that one movie would be able to,
Yeah.
to do. But I think just the fact that you get people talking about that, the honest truth of that like what you just said is something that this movie could get people to talk about. That,
True.
like your degree is a product, and that's what it's about. But we should value learning, and like learning is good. Like you and I, like both, neither of us have been trained in this thing we're doing right now. This analysis of story. Like we didn't go to school and have someone teach us how to do it. We did it because we loved it, and we educated ourselves through the majesty of the internet, having infinite resources where you can learn about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and buying books about it and so forth. Yeah.
Right. Constantly reading or watching or that kind of stuff. And that's like, that is the kind of learning that Rancho wanted to do in this movie. And I think there's value in that, even if it's not the same as how society declares you as a member of the workforce. Mm-hmm. There's still value in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it means you can deliver a baby on a stormy night when the electricity goes off, because you built what was the electricity thing he built?
Well, I mean, it was a vacuum suction for the baby.
Yeah, but he also used his virus thing.
Well, yeah, he made an inverter, which basically transforms the current coming out of the batteries into something that can be used by a home electrical system. Wow, it's
magic.
It's not my forte. You know, what's funny? So, you know, you were saying like, is there any negative things we can say about this movie? And I'm like, here's the thing. And I don't know why I keep going back to John C. Reilly movies, but like, you know how John C. Reilly in some like will play like, you know, a 15-year-old in some of his scenes, even though he's like 45 in that movie. That's basically what's happening in this movie too, because apparently
Amir Khan is like 50 something years old.
Yeah, so he was roughly 40 when he made this movie, and there's a scene in which he's 18 in this movie. So
it doesn't quite pull it off.
Yeah, well, and the thing is that I'm like, I don't care, because the comedy style is not anything like a John C. Reilly movie, but the point is like, yeah, it's in the world of the film, it just doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
You're not supposed to be paying attention to that. It's nice, even lighting, simple shots, easily accessible comedy. Have fun, enjoy it. Don't turn your brain off, but also just enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else you want to say about Three Idiots?
No, I think I'm good.
I adored this movie. I'm so
too.
glad we got to watch it. This is like, we talk about this every time, but I love when we get forced to sit down and watch something we probably never would have watched, and forced to sit down and talk about something we probably never would have talked about. The greatest thing that could happen in the world to me after this episode is that like a couple hundred people go watch this movie because of us.
Yeah.
And that would make me so happy, because it's worth watching. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks Aaron for making us watch this movie.
Yeah, really appreciate that. All right. It's time to talk about the Oscars a little bit, Matt.
Okay, Scott, how are we doing this?
So I think we're just going to go through some of the categories.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you who's going to win. And I'm going to sound really smart when I'm right, or really dumb. And I'm going to tell you who I think should win, because that's more important, really.
Okay. All right. So
and I think we're going to start at the smaller categories and work our way up to the big time.
All right. So for best sound mixing, we have Black Panther, Bohemian Rhapsody, First Man, Roma, and A Star Is Born.
So the sound mixing and editing categories are, every time we do this, I have to explain what those things mean because most people don't understand the difference between sound mixing and sound editing. Sound mixing is like the person who puts all the different sounds together. So like when we edit this podcast and I'm putting your audio in and my audio in and the introduction and the conclusion and like what the levels each thing should be at, that's sound mixing. Sound editing is when you're creating sounds. That's the Foley work. That's, if the Tyrannosaurus roars in Jurassic Park, you have to create that sound. That's what the sound editor does. The sound mixer just takes that sound and then puts it in the movie. Anyway, what's going to win? I'm just going to do both of these categories because they're about the same. And I think the same movie's going to win both of them. I think Bohemian Rhapsody is going to win both of these categories, Matt.
Interesting.
Because it's a musical, or it has music in it. And movies with music scenes in them usually win these categories, or big sci-fi movies, but there really wasn't any of those this year. I mean, Black Panther could win. Like, I think Black Panther could win one of these, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Bohemian Rhapsody also won like the Sound Guild Awards, so that's usually a big sign that they're going to pick these up.
So not A Star Is Born, because that's also got music.
Yeah, but I just think, I don't know. I think people like Queen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just see it winning. I think for mixing, First Man should win because the way it mixes actually for both these categories, the ones I wanted to win are the ones that uses silence effectively because I wanted A Quiet Place to win for sound editing and I wanted First Man to win for sound mixing because I think both of those movies use like quiet very effectively, and First Man uses like the cut between like these loud bombastic explosions, and I mean, like I talked about First Man a lot, and it's basically a horror movie, and sound is such an important part of that. So I think those should win, but I think Bohemian Rhapsody is going to win both these categories, unfortunately.
Yeah, I felt like the last third of Black Panther was just like a noise disaster, honestly. That's like the main thing I remember about the end of the movie was that it was just like loud.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Anyway, those are my thoughts. Next category, makeup and hairstyling. The nominees are Border, Mary Queen of Scots, and Vice.
I'm sorry, we're actually going to do this category during the commercial break, and then we'll come back and edit it in after the fact. So.
You doing a thing?
I did a thing. The Oscars actually reversed their decision on that because so many people got mad at them. So good job, everyone, for getting mad at the Academy and making them change their mind.
All right. Well, are you going to change your mind?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to change my mind. The winner of this category is going to be Vice because everyone's really impressed with how much Christian Bale looks like Dick Cheney, and that is the type of thing that wins these awards.
Okay.
And I think that probably should win too. I haven't seen the movie Border, but I've seen the makeup work in Border, so I understand why that would be popular. And I think Mary Queen of Scots is like, they really like period pieces in this because they usually like have very flourishy hairstyling. But I think Vice is going to win, and it probably should. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Next category, costume design. Nominees are The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Black Panther, The Favorite, Mary Poppins Returns, and Mary Queen of Scots.
The winner will be Black Panther. Black Panther is a very popular movie, and the costume designs in that movie are excellent. Say what you will about that movie. Everything that people are wearing looks amazing.
Yeah, the Vegeta vest looks really awesome.
Okay, everything but the Vegeta vest looks amazing. You can't blame the costume designer on that one, though, because I'm pretty sure that was a Michael B. Jordan request.
Yeah,
he loves anime.
Yeah, I feel like you're probably right. I feel like this is probably gonna be a Black Panther.
And you know what? I think it should win. I really did like the costume design. I'm fine with that. The only other one I think comes close that could spoil is The Favorite. And that's one of those ones where it's a period piece, but also The Favorite's a period piece, but it's a period piece going for a very specific kind of thing. So the costumes in that movie are very outlandish and weird and wonderful. So I could see that pulling off a win, but no, I think Black Panther's got this one.
All right. Next category, production design. The nominees are Black Panther, The Favorite, First Man, Mary Poppins Returns, and Roma.
This is basically an identical guess as the last category. Production design, by the way, is basically everything that's not the costumes. It's the sets, the props, the scenery, like what we're looking at in the different scenes. And I just think Black Panther, the Afrofuturist look of Black Panther was very, very popular. And I think that's going to cause it to win.
Cool. I noticed that I keep seeing a lot of the same movies on these lists.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I guess that's how it goes, huh?
It is how it goes.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Visual effects. The nominees are Avengers: Infinity War, Christopher Robin, First Man, Ready Player One, and Solo: A Star Wars Story.
The only nomination for Ready Player One, and for Avengers: Infinity War, and for Christopher Robin, and for Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Interesting.
So this used to be the way to get blockbusters nominated for Academy Awards category. And I think Avengers is going to win this one because I think everyone was really impressed by Thanos. And I think that's going to take it over the top. It is one of the best looking CGI characters. And I think that the success of that movie was so hinged on how believable you can make Thanos look.
Yeah, I mean the whole fight with him at the end when they're on the Titan, like that whole thing is CGI, but
yeah,
you care what's happening, and that's like the only time that's ever happened in a movie. A CGI scene where you care what's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I admittedly I haven't seen. I saw Solo, I saw Ready Player One. I haven't seen Christopher Robin or First Man, but I would definitely pick Avengers over those other two.
Yeah, the only reason I don't want to pick Avengers, like that I don't think it should win, is because while I agree that Thanos is great and a lot of the stuff is great, there is some wonky CGI in that movie. I can't look at the Hulkbuster armor with Mark Ruffalo in it and take it seriously. It looks so goofy. I don't think that effect worked at all.
Interesting.
Where you just see his head poking out of the giant. I just didn't think that looked good. And I think this movie's going to win because of Thanos, but we're saying the visual effects from the entire movie, that knocks it out for me. So I'm going to say First Man should win this because I thought that the CG stuff that they did on the rockets and landing on the moon and all that was incredible. And it's the one that's not the one with the Mark Ruffalo's head floating in a Hulkbuster armor.
I'll have to go back and watch that so that I can dislike it too.
No, just like it if you want to. I'm not telling you to dislike it.
No, I'm kidding. I love that movie so much. I'm actually shocked that it's the only category. I guess I'm not shocked, but I don't know. I thought it was a really good movie.
It's the way it goes.
Yeah. All right. Next one, documentary feature. Best documentary feature. Free Solo. Not related to the other one.
No.
Hale County this evening. Okay. Minding the Gap. Of Fathers and Sons, and RBG.
And the winner of this category is the Mr. Rogers documentary. Oh, wait, no, it wasn't nominated, surprisingly.
What?
Yeah, really surprising that that movie didn't make it.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of people that were just arguing that the reason why everyone loved that documentary is because the subject matter is just so inherently likable. And I don't know if I agree with that, but I think that's why the winner of this category is going to win, which is the Ruth Bader Ginsburg documentary RBG. This is a very good documentary. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I just don't think it's the best one of the year.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's going to win because it is very easy to take a political stance in the documentary feature category. And you can very easily do that by making RBG win. And that's what I think the Academy is going to do.
Okay.
But I think the best documentary on this list and my favorite documentary of the year is Minding the Gap. We've talked about this movie before, so I don't want to repeat myself, but this is a skateboarding movie that is emotional and wonderful. It's really, really good. And I have to believe that if more members of the Academy had seen it, it might have won, but I just think RBG is just so much more popular.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I really want to watch that one, Minding the Gap.
It is on Hulu.
All right.
Go watch it.
Well,
and I haven't seen Free Solo, but if anything's going to beat RBG, it could be that. So Free Solo could be the spoiler, but I think RBG's got this.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that too. But
yeah, that one I have not seen.
That might be another one where it's actually just the subject matter, though. Like it's hair raising, and thus yeah.
But in this case, like it's hair raising because like the people that were filming him climb were also climbing.
True.
That's like, so I think that deserves some respect that you like took the time to get these amazing shots that you could have only gotten by also risking your life.
Yeah, right. Like pretty much everyone involved in the movie is a world-class climber. So
yeah.
All right, next, best original song. We have from Black Panther, All the Stars, from RBG, I'll Fight, from Mary Poppins Returns, The Place Where Lost Things Go, from A Star Is Born, Shallow, and from The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, When a Cowboy Trades His Spurs for Wings.
Okay, so Shallow is going to win. We can move on.
Okay.
Shallow is going to win. It is the song of the year. Like, everyone loves this song. I don't even think there's a chance for anything else to win. So let's just move on. Shallow.
Okay.
It's going to be Shallow.
Best original score. Black Panther, Black Klansman.
Just say Black
Klansman. I don't know how to say that. If Beale Street Could Talk, Isle of Dogs, and Mary Poppins Returns.
So this is going to be a very close one, I think. This is one of the ones that could go either way. I think Black Klansman's going to pull out a win here. And the weird thing is I don't know why. That's just like my research across the internet seems to be showing that it's tracking that way because I don't remember the music in that movie. The movie I do remember the music in is If Beale Street Could Talk, which is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. And part of that beauty is the amazing, amazing, amazing score by Nicholas Britell. I think that movie should win, and it might, but I think Black Klansman is just going to edge it out just a little bit, which is it's a bummer. Not that I didn't like Black Klansman, it's just like I was listening to the Beale Street soundtrack earlier this week when I was working on show prep, and it's just so beautiful.
Cool. I haven't even heard of that movie, like zero. So
that's I think the reason why it doesn't win here, because it is just less well known. Black Klansman is a Best Picture nominee, so people know that movie, and I think that's going to edge it out.
Cool. Yeah, it makes me curious because I like me some music. Best film editing: Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Green Book, and Vice.
I hate this category. I hate this category so much.
Why is that, Scott?
Because Vice is going to win, and it makes me mad.
Okay.
Like a lot of so here's the thing about the Academy is like editors are voting for this. So it's like people that know their craft, and they've nominated Bohemian Rhapsody and Vice, which are two movies that I think the editing on is actually terrible. Like everyone was passing around that Bohemian Rhapsody clip. I think I sent that to you.
That was
where it's just like
horrible.
It's awful. It's awful. And like, I guess like there's music scenes where like, I think like if there's like a music scene where someone's performing and there's editing around that scene, like the Academy tends to like that. Like Whiplash won the editing award a few years ago, and I think it won the editing award because like there's a lot of cutting on the musical performance. And I think that's what's going to do it here, because I think like Bohemian Rhapsody could win. What I think is actually going to win is Vice. And Vice is going to win because it's this like weird movie that is like has this weird pace to it, and a lot of the pace is created by the kind of editing that's going on. Like they use like split screen it's like the most edited, and I think that's why it's going to win.
Okay.
But Bohemian Rhapsody could also end up taking it, and I'm going to be mad either way. I don't even know who I want to win here. Like I think Black Klansman is a very good movie that there's one scene that's edited together beautifully that like contrasts two different scenes, and I think like deciding who gets credit for that is for the brilliance of that scene is tough, but I think the editing really helps sell the moment, like when we're cutting between the different moments to sell the contrast between these two things. So yeah, I'll say Black Klansman should win, but it's not going to.
Okay.
Which is a bummer.
All right. Next category, cinematography. The nominees are The Favorite, Never Look Away, Roma, A Star Is Born, and Cold War.
Roma's going to win this one. Roma is a beautiful, beautiful movie that Alfonso Cuarón, the director, also was the DP on, and he spent so much time on the cinematography, and it paid off. It's a beautiful movie, and the Academy is going to honor it as such.
Yeah, I also know almost nothing about that one, and I'm getting the feeling I need to watch it. So.
That's a Netflix one, so you can watch it right now.
Already. I'll see you later. Best animated feature. Nominees are Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs. That was this year?
Yeah.
Wow.
2018 was long, man.
Okay. Mirai, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
So I think Spider-Man is going to win this one, and it should. You've seen this movie. It's a wonderful movie. It deserves to win for this. However, there are still a lot of old people in the Academy.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of those old people see Disney, see Pixar, and they say, "Yeah, I'll vote for that one."
Yeah, hit that vote button right there.
They don't get Spider-Man. So I could see Incredibles 2 spoiling this.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah,
I think the conversation around Spider-Man has been so exciting that it's going to push it over the top.
I mean, Incredibles 2 is really good, like really beautifully done movie, like from a visual standpoint.
Yeah.
It's fantastically well done. Like everything about, you know, the cinematography, if you will. I don't know if you use that word when it's in a computer, but yeah, it's
sure.
So it wouldn't hurt my feelings of that one. I love both of those movies, actually.
The weird thing is, like, when it's like this category is segmented out, right? So is it like when you say best animated feature, are you being like best animation? Like, are you rewarding the best animation, or are you rewarding the best overall movie? And clearly, to me, the best overall movie is Spider-Man. I would also argue Spider-Man has the best animation as well. But you are absolutely right that Incredibles 2 is a beautiful, beautiful movie. I didn't care for the movie that much, but I can't argue that all the animation looked great. All the action scenes were animated incredibly. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be probably a little disappointed if Spider-Man ends up losing, but honoring the animation work on that film is worthy, I think.
This makes me want to look into whether there are like awards shows or award whatevers for like just animated films.
I believe there are.
Because I would actually love to see experts break down, you know, both of those movies and say, you know, Incredibles had the best cinematography, but Spider-Man had the best, I don't know the words. I want to educate myself on this. So
the best comic book animation.
The best like action. I don't know, something.
Yeah.
Next category, best adapted screenplay. In the nominees, A Star is Born, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Black Klansman, If Beale Street Could Talk, and Can You Ever Forgive Me?
This is a weird category this year. A Star is Born is technically an adaptation because it's a remake. Like, they're adapting older movies, and that feels weird. I don't know if that should count.
Yeah.
I don't know what The Ballad of Buster Scruggs is an adaptation of.
Weird.
At all. Black Klansman is an adaptation of a true story. I guess there was a book based on that true story, so it counts. If Beale Street Could Talk is very clearly an adaptation, and Can You Ever Forgive Me is as well. I think Black Klansman's going to win this one. I think the one thing, like, this award is a signal for whether or not Spike Lee is going to win director, in my mind, because I think if they're going to honor Spike in the director spot, then he might not win for the screenplay. But if they're going to screw him over in director, they could give adapted screenplay to his movie as like well, here, you got this one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's a good movie. I like the movie. I think it's a pretty well-written script. The only movie on here I haven't seen is Can You Ever Forgive Me? And I hear that's a really, really great movie, so I could see that spoiling and winning this one. But I can't comment on it because I haven't seen it.
All right. Yeah, I don't have any real comments on this one. Next category, Best Original Screenplay. The Favorite, First Reformed, Green Book, Roma, and Vice.
So 8th Grade isn't on this list, and that makes me very, very mad. But the Writers Guild honored Bo Burnham with a screenplay award, so I'll just take that and be happy with it.
Okay.
But I think The Favorite is going to win this one. I think Green Book probably would have been heavily favorited, but there's a lot of controversy around some stuff Nick Vallelonga said, where like a tweet came out that he supported Donald Trump and said that yes, there were Muslim people cheering in New Jersey on 9/11.
Uh-huh.
And that like got circulated very wide, and it's not a good look. So I think the politics of it will make Green Book go away in this category, which I can't comment on because I haven't seen the movie. But I think The Favorite's going to win because I don't think The Favorite's going to win Best Picture, and this is another way for them to give the movie a award that they really liked. My favorite of these movies is First Reformed, which I think is an excellent movie with a really solid screenplay that I loved very much. So I would love for that to happen, but I think it's going to be The Favorite. Green Book could spoil. We'll see how much the controversy weighed this movie down. It's a tough call. All
right. Yeah. Interesting.
Now we're on to the acting categories.
Yeah. Best Supporting Actors. Mahershala Ali. Mahershala Ali. Yeah, Mahershala Ali. Yeah. Adam Driver. Sam Elliott. I guess I should be saying the movies, right?
Sure.
Mahershala Ali in Green Book. Adam Driver in Black Klansman. Sam Elliott in A Star Is Born. Richard E. Grant in Can You Ever Forgive Me? And Sam Rockwell in Vice.
Mahershala Ali is going to win, I think. While there is some negative press around Green Book, I think it's pretty universal that his performance in it is really wonderful. Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. However, Richard E. Grant in Can You Ever Forgive Me is supposed to be very good as well. Again, that's another movie I haven't seen, so I can't comment on that. So either of those two could end up winning. I personally loved Sam Elliott's performance in A Star Is Born. I think it's a really, really wonderful performance. It's a smaller part, but one of the scenes he is in is one of the best scenes I've seen this year. So that's my vote. But again, I haven't seen the two movies that are favorited to win this. So we'll see.
Okay.
I think it's ridiculous that Sam Rockwell is nominated. It doesn't make any sense. He was in one scene of Vice, and he's just doing a George Bush impression, which like 300 people have done at this point. So I don't know. I don't know why that, like, I don't know why he got that nomination.
It's in the bylaws of the Academy that if there is a performance where someone is doing a negative George Bush impression, then they have to be nominated.
I didn't know about that rule. That explains it.
Yep. All right. Next category, Best Supporting Actress. The nominees are Amy Adams in Vice, Marina de Tavira in Roma, Regina King in If Beale Street Could Talk, Emma Stone in The Favorite, and Rachel Weisz in The Favorite.
All right. So Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk is going to win this award. And that makes me very happy because this movie, I really liked it. Parts of it I didn't like as much of others. We've talked about the score already and how I thought the score was beautiful. But the hands down best scene in this movie is Regina King in the scene by herself in front of a mirror. And it's this amazing performance. Everyone needs to watch this movie if just for this performance alone. It is completely on her. It is powerful. It is wonderful. And she's going to be honored for it. And that makes me happy.
Cool. You're making me really want to see this movie. All right, next category, Best Actor. Christian Bale in Vice, Bradley Cooper in A Star Is Born, Willem Dafoe in At Eternity's Gate, Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody, and Viggo Mortensen in Green Book.
So I haven't seen At Eternity's Gate, but I wish I could give the award to Willem Dafoe for just being Willem Dafoe. Unfortunately, we cannot do that, and I don't think he's going to win. I think Rami Malek is going to take this for Bohemian Rhapsody. It's a very popular movie. It is a performance that many people seem to like, and I think is like one of the only good things about the movie, so I can understand that. So yeah, I think he's got it. But I think Christian Bale should win. I didn't like Vice that much as a movie, but what Christian Bale did to transform himself into Dick Cheney was nothing short of remarkable. And it's not just the weight gain. It's not just the makeup. He studied the man and like he is Dick Cheney in that movie. It's incredible. It's an incredible performance. The movie's not that good. But out of all these, I think Bale deserves it.
All right. Yeah. If we're giving awards just for actors who like cosmically deserve awards, then I'm going to give Sam Rockwell the Best Supporting Actor award.
Well, he got one last year, so.
Well, that's fine.
He got Best Supporting Actor last year, so that's why I don't understand why we're doing this.
Okay, fine, fair enough. All right, Best Actress. We have Yalitza Aparicio. I'm sorry, everyone. Aparicio. Yalitza Aparicio in Roma. Glenn Close in The Wife. Olivia Colman in The Favorite, Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born, and Melissa McCarthy in Can You Ever Forgive Me?
So Glenn Close is going to win this award, and like we were just talking about, it is going to be one of those honorary lifetime achievement type Best Actress awards. I haven't seen The Wife. I heard she's good in it, but this feels like an award that's being given to her because she's Glenn Close, and she deserves it. I think Lady Gaga was pretty good in A Star Is Born, but I don't think she's good enough to win the award. I'm happy to see Melissa McCarthy on here because she's a great actress. I haven't seen that movie. I would pick Olivia Colman because I really enjoyed The Favorite, and while Rachel Weisz and why am I blanking on her name? Emma Stone, there we go, were really good in it. I think Olivia Colman is the linchpin of that movie, and she was very good in it. But and she could end up spoiling. She could, but I think Glenn Close is going to win this.
Okay. Cool. I guess we're finally down to Best Director. We have Alfonso Cuarón in Roma. We have Yorgos Lanthimos in The Favorite. Spike Lee for Black Klansman. Adam McVeigh for Vice. And Paweł Pawlikowski for Cold War.
Nice job. You did it. This is a tough one. This is going to be very, very, very close. I think Cuarón is going to end up taking it for Roma. But Spike Lee could win too. And I'd be happy with either, I think. Like we were talking about, this could be... Like, Spike Lee has never won a directing Oscar. And that's kind of insane. Black Klansman is not my favorite Spike Lee film. But Spike Lee deserves a directing Oscar. and if this is the movie to make it happen, fine. I would be happy with that. It's a good movie. He deserves to win. But what Cuarón did with Roma is remarkable too. So I don't know. Either one.
Okay.
I'm gonna if I have to put one down, I'm gonna say Cuarón, but either one.
Yeah, you gotta put one down so we can grade you.
Yeah, of course.
That's the most important thing. And the final category, Best Picture, we have Black Klansman, Black Panther, Bohemian Rhapsody, Green Book, The Favorite, Roma, A Star Is Born, and Vice.
Not my favorite list of nominees for Best Picture this year, to be honest with you. It was a tough decision to who I wanted to win. I think the best movie on this list is Roma. I really enjoyed that movie. I thought like we've talked about it a lot today already. I think I would be very happy with that movie winning. It might not though. Like, I think Green Book could spoil it. Green Book is very, very popular, especially amongst old white people, which there's still a lot of in the Academy. But that's going to be interesting. Like, the thing that I think might happen is nobody can agree. So here's the thing about Best Picture that's different from any other category. Any other category, you just vote for who you want to win, and the award with the most votes win. Best Picture is done in a ranking system. So you rank them based on best to least. So if people are torn in the number one slot, then that's how everyone's second favorite could actually end up winning. Uh-huh. I think that's how Moonlight won a couple years ago, because a lot of people liked La La Land, but not everyone liked La La Land. But most everyone was really positive on Moonlight. So I think most everyone wrote Moonlight in their number two, and it got enough number twos that ended up winning. So I could see a situation here in which Black Panther ends up winning, because while I don't think a lot of people are going to put Black Panther in the number one slot, I could see a lot of people putting it in their number two slot. And I think that could make it win. But I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Roma. I'm pretty sure. Roma won the BAFTA, I think. I don't remember now. I think they did. I don't remember. Roma was winning a lot of awards, so I think it's going to pull it off. But
okay.
There we go.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll mark all that down somewhere, and then we'll revisit it.
Well, it's recorded in history now, so
it's true.
We'll revisit it. We probably won't go through everything next week because this took a while, but we'll just say how I did.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We didn't do Best International Film this year because the only one I had seen on that list was Roma. But it is interesting that Roma is on in both Best Picture and Best Foreign Film.
Yeah, it seems unusual.
And it might win both. And if it does, I think that's the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, that's sort of a slap in the face to Hollywood, I guess. But
I just don't understand. Like, I think the foreign film category is weird because it's like all of foreign film is put in one category unless we decide it's good enough to be also American.
Yeah,
I guess. I don't know.
Very interesting.
I don't like that category. I mean, I want foreign films to be honored, but I don't like that we have to, just like the animated films, I don't like how we have to separate that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the Oscars this Sunday. The telecast is going to be a shit show, guaranteed. But hopefully some good movies win.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about how bad that is because I won't be watching it. All
right. That is all we had for you guys this week. If you have opinions on anything, God, it's been so long since we talked about Three Idiots that I almost forgot the name of the movie. If you have opinions on Three Idiots, on any of my Oscar picks, on the Oscars in general, or any of the movies we talked about, let us know. You can reach out to us via email at doofmedia@gmail.com or over on our Twitter account at doofmedia, which is the account you want to follow to see when we have new episodes. This episode is coming a day late, so you can follow us there to see when we announce that we're going to be late. That kind of stuff. Just follow us.
Yeah. And if you're not already subscribed to this podcast feed, we encourage you to do so and ensure you never miss an episode. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else podcasts can be found.
And you can find all the other shows we do over at doofmedia.com, including the newest show to join our network, Deep Impact. That is a deep dive, chapter-by-chapter analysis of Wildbow's web serial Pact. If you haven't started reading that yet, do it. I'm 5 chapters in, and which is not very many, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, and I'm keeping up with the podcast now. You
read it already.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm really enjoying it.
Also, if you want to support any of these shows, consider becoming a patron of Doof Media. Head on over to patreon.com/doofmedia and pledge $1 a month or whatever else you can afford to help ensure we keep growing, keep making new content, and to defray the cost of renting and or buying some of these movies we're talking about. This episode here only exists, once again, because of the generosity of our patron, Aaron G, who had us watch this movie, Three Idiots. Thank you again for your support, Aaron, and thank all of you for your support. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah. This movie was a pleasure. I'm going to be recommending it to people, and so thanks for putting that on our list.
Yeah, and we don't talk about foreign films that often on here, and this whole patron produced episode thing has really gotten us to. So
yeah, right. Right. It's a great excuse to broaden my horizons.
Yeah.
Also, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Every review helps us get more exposure and introduces new people to the content that we make here. And we have a new review this week, actually.
We do.
Yeah.
Read it.
It's from I Am Not Faust, who gives us 5 stars and says, Scott, Matt, Michael, and the others.
You read your name first there.
Yeah. Just fix that. No, just kidding. Scott, Matt, Michael, and the others are always bringing insightful commentary to the stories they read and watch. They bring enthusiasm and in-depth analysis to movies, books, and sometimes games. They acknowledge the surface level things, but always go deeper and try to find out how and why stories work the way they do. If you're a new listener, search through their queue for a movie you're a fan of and start there. Chances are you'll discover a new reason for why you love storytelling. Wow.
That's so nice.
That's like exactly how I would describe our podcast.
I know. That's exactly what we're going for.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Someone understands.
Thank you so much, I Am Not Faust. And thank every one of you who has taken the time to leave us those ratings and reviews. They really do help. We really do appreciate them.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend. Watch the Oscars. Get mad and frustrated with me for no reason because it's just a stupid award show, but it matters, damn it. It matters. And we'll see you all next week.
My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say. My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say.